Hi guys, so I'm just going to give you a little demo on how to do your border for your illustration project. So I want you guys to use your rulers. I suggest the metal rulers, and we're going to do a 1/2 inch border. So you're going in the middle of the one, and at the tip of the page you're going to draw a little dot right there, and then the same on this end. And notice how I'm holding the ruler right in the center. If you hold the ruler on this side or on this side, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to get a wobbly line. So now I take my ruler and I put the one end on the one dot, the other end on the other, and now we'll get a really nice straight line. Very lightly. You don't have to go very hard here because you want to be able to erase as you go. So same thing on this side. Just going to get a 1/2 mark like that. Get on the other side. And because this area is longer, my ruler is not going to reach all the way across. I need to do one in the middle as well. So now I can know exactly where that 1/2 inch border sits. And just keep doing it around the edges. Move your page around to suit you. Don't try and, work with the page staying in one spot. I'm moving the page as I rule my lines. And this seems like a simple little thing, but to get it right and to keep doing it right is important, so that you keep a neatness, especially if you're going to move on to doing art in college. They're going to be asking you to rule lines all the time, and you have to have that little skill to be able to do it quickly. All right, now we have a beautiful border, and that's just giving us a little area to know that we're not going to go inside that area. And the good reason for creating borders, especially with illustrations, is that sometimes you need to neaten up your edges. So say my drawing fills up here and it goes a little over the lines and whatnot, then I can come and take my knife and cut away this border, and it will be a nice neat drawing without any edges showing or any white spaces. So it really just gives your eye an idea of where to draw and where not to draw. Okay, so for yours you also need to create a 1/2 inch border. Right here I've got my 12 by 18 watercolor paper. If you don't have watercolor paper, you can use just regular drawing paper, but I do want you to use a 12 by 18 piece. So you're going to be drawing your chosen subject matter that you've been practicing in the last couple of days. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I did an ostrich, so I've been drawing my ostrich every day, and now I'm thinking of a scene that I'm going to create for my ostrich to live inside of. So I'm going to think about a couple of things. First of all, where am I going to put my ostrich in the scene? So most of the time what we think of doing immediately, our brain leads us to think, put my ostrich right in the center of the page. Now while this gives the eye a viewpoint to go straight towards, what it doesn't do is create interest. And so especially since you guys are in 8th grade and we're trying to get you to understand more mature terms within art, if you create the rule of thirds, what you do is you put a line on the one side of your page here, you put a line like that, so it splits it into 3, right? So now your page is split into 3, and you know that this area here and this area here is a point of interest. Then we do the same, and we're doing this very lightly obviously because we're going to go over this, and it just more or less, just to give your eye an understanding, we put a line here and another one here. So it's not perfect, but it's good enough. And now we have an idea of our points of interest. So here is a point of interest. This makes our composition more interesting. Here is a point of interest. Here and here. So if I put my ostrich in one of those areas, it's going to give my image or my illustration something more going on than just a smack bam in the center image. So I'm going to put my ostrich right here. This is where I'm thinking she's going to go. And so I'm just going to erase my lines a little bit so that I don't have pencil marks showing all over the place. And then I'm thinking, what is my ostrich going to be doing? Since we're creating a scene, we're trying to think of a story to portray to the viewer. So I'm going to have my ostrich doing ballet in the middle of the page. And she's taking her ballet class in, the desert. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to get on my laptop here, and I'm going to find an image of an ostrich that I like. It's very important to always use reference images. So now I'm going to start drawing my ostrich. Now very lightly, you want to hold your pencil very lightly. At this point you should be using your B or your 2B pencils to draw. Your B pencils are going to be your softer pencils. They're going to give you a nice dark silky line, whereas your H pencils are quite hard and they're going to give you a very light line, and those lines are going to be difficult to blend. So we want to use our B pencils when we're sketching. So we're going to go in here, we're going to draw just our outline of our ostrich. And I'm paying attention to where the feet are going to go as well. I want the feet around there. So I'm just drawing little circles to give me the shape of the body. Now I'm going to go in a little bit more with a little bit more detail. Now that I've got my basic idea of my ostrich doing ballet, I want to think about the rest of my story. So on this side of the page, I've got a lot of weight. So now I've got a big empty space in this area. So I've got uneven balance, right? So this is one of our principles of art, is balance. And we want to even that out with an image on this side. So even if this side is heavier, we need a smaller image to kind of bring visual interest. So I'm going to think, okay, this ostrich is doing ballet. Who's the teacher? So let me find a teacher for my ostrich. Okay, so I've found my monkey, and now I'm going to draw him in this other visually interesting area using that rule of thirds. So he's going to come in more or less here. Pushing him a little bit back towards that visual line because the ostrich is coming so close. So I'm going to have my little monkey giving a little speech bubble. In the background, I'm thinking, what can I use to show that it's a ballet class? And so I'm going to put a beam in the background as if it's a beam you use in ballet, but instead I'm going to use a tree branch to create interest. So there are the tree branches, and it's going to be held up by another tree branch here. And that's going to be kind of got grass on the ground. Let's just make sure my line stays straight. Create a few little parts to the tree. Make it look a little more natural. And we'll show some lines that are showing dust come up around them since they're outside. And we can show also little lines for them moving. And then here we can draw a little bird on a tree coming out here. And he can be the the musician for the class. Got to think about proportion so that everything stays correct, because I've been quite in proportion. Perhaps the monkey is a little too large, but let me look up an image of a singing bird. All right, I found one I like. Let's put him here. Just drawing very roughly the little body. And he says, what is he singing? Let's look up ballet music. So you can put a little bit of research into this if you look up things that relate to your scene. So if you do like little notes, little musical notes, it doesn't have to be exact. What else is? He's going. And then he says, here we'll put in brackets what the song is, and we'll say, Dance of the Knights. That's a ballet song. So that's pretty cool. I like my little scene. So now you can see I've got a lot of weight right here, and I need to put a little bit of weight right here. So what can I put over here? Just the sun. Quite simple. Not very original, but it'll add a nice bit of yellow, which will give us color. So there's my beams from the sunlight. And here this will kind of be trees. Add a little bit of green. And all right, so I've got my scene kind of drawn out here. The next step is going to be to add my watercolors. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful. I'm excited to see what you guys produce.